Welcome to Damsels in Dialogue, a podcast dedicated to female protagonists in fiction, film, and the stage. Co-hosted by India Marie Paul
and Katie Zutter. Here at Damsels in Dialogue, we support the LGBTQ plus community and all women because trans women are women.
This episode, we travel once again to the corridors of Hogwarts and discuss the wonderful witchy teachers and a few of its magical occupants.
Okay, so welcome to this episode of Damsels in Dialogue. As we talk about the wizarding world, we understand that this will encourage people to want to purchase things. We highly encourage you instead to purchase some magical merch from our small businesses and sponsors. Now, today's sponsor is a wand maker. They are House of Wandcraft. They make dreamy handmade magical wands. They are resin made. They come in stunning colors and designs. And currently, their spooky Halloween designs are so fun. They have glow in the dark wands. They have ones with eyeballs. And they have some wands that, they're fun. And they have some wands with like spiders inside. I don't know. Their spooky wands for this season are really fun. So highly recommend checking them out. And thank you so much, House of Wandcraft, for sponsoring us this episode. You can find them at houseofwandcraft.com and on TikTok and Instagram at House of Wandcraft.
Yes. And this episode, we're going to cover a lot of things. So I'm really excited to get to it. We'll try to keep them all straight. We're going to talk about the teachers, some of the people who exist in Hogwarts, portraits and house elves, and all the things that
ghosties.
All the ghosties, all those. So we're going to start with a wonderful addition to the wizarding world who is not human, but is a magical portrait. So she did exist.
She is just the fat lady. She is not even named. So she may truly be just a portrait. We don't know if she is an actual person who existed or if she was something painted specifically for Hogwarts to be the portrait. Similar to other things, for example, the Ravenclaw Tower that is a specific to Ravenclaw Tower way to get in. So we actually don't know the history of the fat lady. It can be assumed, since she does not have a name, that she was not
because she would have had something.
There. Right. So she may have been made specifically for this job, which is very interesting in and of itself.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan that she's called the fat lady.
That didn't age well. It makes you think of like when the fat lady sings, like that phrase.
Which they do play on in the movies. In the movies, they do play on that, which makes for very hysterical moments of, ooh, just with my voice.
Yes.
Like very funny when she breaks it on the corner. We love that her personality came out there. But yeah, I don't like that it's a descriptor and her name. And they do go back and forth throughout the books.
Because her friend gets a name.
Yeah, Violet gets a name, but she does not. And in fact, in the games, there's a couple of video games where in America, she's the pink lady and not the fat lady. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. But her as a character, it does make it very interesting if she is built specifically for this role.
Yeah.
Because she does so much. And we learn from her, she is one of the only portraits who we see having like a full life outside of her
She has
portrait.
A social life, and it comes into play a couple times in the book, which is amazing.
Yeah, and she does have a full personality, which we do see from other other portraits, but you see her, concerned for the group when they return. Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville, when they come back right in book 1, she's worried about them. When they come back disheveled, out of breath from running. We do see that she cannot see through invisibility cloaks and things like that, which is why we can assume they have passwords, because she would not be able to see through things like Polyjuice Potion and things to change your appearance. Unlike the movies, where in the back half of the movies, she just swings open because she recognizes them. They need to cut time. Whatever, I get it.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate in the later movies, because in the books, it isn't until later where like the movies start to make her more of a thing that she gets more popular. And I love that for her, because she gets so sassy and fun.
God.
Like you see as you get to know her in the books, you have her like jerking up from a doze, like when she's like sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, here, and I'll let you in. And you have the moment where it's much more comical when you see it in the movie of her running for sanctuary in book 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's like off in the wild. She's not in the
Yes.
map of Argyllshire. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but she's not there in the movies. In the movies, she's like in this like wild nature area. Like
they find her like surviving. Yeah.
Which we love for her. I think it very much tracks for her. Like I did, you know. Her movies verse here, I just love her. I think she's done very well.
Mm-hmm.
They move her actually in the movies too, because they stopped filming in their original filming location.
Mm-hmm.
So she is in a different hallway.
Oh,
come book 3. But yeah, no, it's super interesting. I love that they do a lot for her. I think it's honestly quite brave of her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind her taking a moment. Like it's brave of her to tell him no.
Yeah.
Black when he has a knife and he does scratch her whole portrait to shreds for a bit. Like it's brave of her to like stand up for him
and protect the kids.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, she's the last line of defense for the common room.
She knows him. Yeah. She let him in for 7 years of her life.
Yeah. Oh, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
When you think about it, like, and I love that she comes back with protection from the trolls.
Yes.
She's like, I will come back on one circumstance.
Yes. Well, so her sass not only is super funny and fun, but I really think that's the only kind of personality that could handle what teenage Gryffindors would be like. You know?
Oh, hands down. I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I think she's the perfect fit for that group. And,
yes.
And I love that she has a friend. I love that you get to meet Violet through her. I love that it's even from book 1, when they're going to go duel Malfoy, she's not there because she's off on a nighttime like visit. So they can't get back in. Like I love that she has this life outside of her frame, which is just a weird concept, but really fun and magical.
She does, which is super cool. And Violet is just such a funny, like,
it's such a fun,
drunk with fat lady off chocolate liqueurs after the ball. She keeps winking at Bill because he's cute.
Yeah, the portrait gets drunk multiple times in this series.
Multiple times. And that's what makes me think that she was made for there. That she has these extra things, you know? I don't know. It's just, I love that as like she changes the password to abstinence after she's drunk one night. Yeah, and it just cracks me up. Like changes it there while she's drunk. I mean, love that for her.
Yep. I love that she is also thinking about her watching over the students. You learn that she scolds Molly when she comes back at 4 a.m. She frequently scolds the others when they come back late.
Oh, she scolds Harry when he comes in and like she's like, oh well, nope, it's late. They changed the password. And walks away. And she's like, all right, I lied. I was annoyed. The password's still tapeworm. Like, come back.
I wrote down that line because it cracked me up. It was, "Are you going to give me?" No, wait, no. No, I wrote down a different line.
That still happens because they walk up and have a full conversation. But yes, deliver that line because that one's also really funny.
It's in book 5. And they're just discussing something outside of her portrait, which also, like, I love that she hates people just loitering.
She wants to do her job and, like, go hang out with Violet. Like, get out of here.
It's are you going to give me the password or will I have to stay awake all night waiting for you to finish your conversation?
Yeah.
Like, it's so good because it does feel like she's like, this is my job, but also can we move this along?
Yeah. I'm not going to wait for you. Can you just like get it together?
Yeah.
Cracks me up.
Oh, she sounds extremely hungover on 500-year-old wine.
Yep. That's I think that's where she
abstinence one?
I think that's the abstinence. Yes, because she says, please don't shout, but nobody's shouting.
Yeah, it's just
like
classic hungover, don't look at me, like talk quietly.
Yeah, got super drunk with Violet.
Yeah.
My goodness. She also like earlier in the books shows up too. There's a moment like for book 4 that she has like a little tinsel headband for the holidays.
Yeah.
So she has her own little wardrobe.
Yeah. I love it. I love that.
Oh, and her, don't mind me, I'll just hang open until you get back.
Yeah.
She says that in book 4 too.
Yep.
But one thing I wanted to save to the end, is there anything else that we wanted to say to her about her?
We might
One
have
moment that I wanted to wait. Okay.
we might have the same moment.
Yeah. So where in the movies she just opens upon recognition, which we talked about. I get it. It's whatever. But the final moment that we actually see her, which is so devastating because she is so strict on that job that she has. She's so good about it. She almost potentially dies from it because if she would have been in that painting when it was destroyed, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah.
And the last moment we see her, she is sobbing, presumably because Violet's already told her the news of Dumbledore, and she lets Harry in without the password. And I think that is so sad.
Yeah, that's the last thing I wrote too. I'm like, wow, that moment.
We don't see her again.
It's so powerful because of the fact that it's the only time she's ever swung open because she is sobbing so hard.
Yeah, and just recognizes him and lets him in. It's all over for her in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't even imagine what she went through in the next book when the Death Eaters took over. Thank goodness Minerva was still head of house for Gryffindor. But still, like, who knows what kind of nonsense she had to deal with, you know, with the Death Eaters and giving them the passwords and letting them in. And
and who knows how long she's been there because she probably saw Dumbledore grow up as a student.
Oh, like I said, I would think with her not having a name, and I think she was built for the castle day one. So she's seen everybody.
She saw Lily and Snape fight outside
right in
of her
front
portrait.
of the door. Yeah, she's seen everything. Can you imagine the stuff that the trio could have found out if they
just talked,
even thought to ask her? And you know she would tell you because she said, like, her and Violet, asking Violet would have told them everything. Like, what a gossip. She would have been thrilled to be like, look, all this shit that I know about the students. She was a very integral part. And I do really love that the movies helped make her, she had more of a personality. She had a bigger part in the movies than she did in the books many a time, which was super fun to see. Yeah, she's just an interesting, fun character that makes the world fun. I just wish she had a name.
A name. Why didn't she have a name? Violet gets a name. Yeah. Sir Cadogan gets a name. Like, what?
Why didn't she get a name? But, you know, whatever.
That's okay. That's the one thing. She's great. She's
their own.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Love her. Love how sassy she is. Love her for them. And I think you're totally right. Who better to monitor and keep safe a bunch of pubescent Gryffindors?
Yeah. That's the only one. The only one who can handle that.
Oh, you know what? Moving on to next, since we did talk about the portraits of the school, something I wanted to go by really briefly is I was interested to see a couple of the books we do get textbook lists.
Yes.
And I wanted to see how many of them were women. So book 2 has the largest list, but that is all Lockhart. So
Lockhart, yeah.
You know, that's why that list is very long.
Yeah.
But in book 1, we get the textbooks by female authors are the Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1 by Miranda Goshawk, a History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot, and 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Phillida Spore. Book 2, the only 2 female names outside of, you know, all the Lockharts were Miranda Goshawk, Standard Book of Spells, or Goshawk, Standard Book of Spells, Book 2, and Unfogging the Future by Cassandra Vablatsky. Now, Book 3, he already has his books taken care of by the Minister of Magic, so he does not go get them, so they are not mentioned and listed. Book 4, Miranda Goshawk, Standard Book of Spells, Volume 4. And then by book 5, I gave up and said, Miranda Goshawk wrote all of them, wrote all of the Standard Book of Spells.
Yeah, it felt like she was the one who, Hogwarts is under her system. She is the standard spell system. So good for you. Like, that's a big paycheck.
It, girl. That is a huge paycheck for you. Get it. And then another just honorable mention. Yeah. We have the woman, the cart lady, the lady who uses the trolley.
No name, right? We don't get a name.
The sweets and snacks. Nope.
Cool. Trolley lady.
She's in a few of the books. Anything from the trolley dears?
Yeah, she has a line. We get a line, you know.
You know, she says it a few times in the books and the movies, but you know, that's all. Yeah. That's all she gets.
Good for you. Thanks for giving sweets to all the kids. That's really what they need on the way to school.
Thank you for getting so much money off of Harry.
Yeah, man, because she's Harry's so excited every time she goes by that.
Yeah, she's like, Ron doesn't got anything. I got you, Ron. Let me buy everything.
Do we imagine, like, Hogwarts Express is not going other than like there and back. So where is she outside of the Hogwarts Express? Does she work at a
who
shop?
knows?
Like Honeydukes? Is she like a representative?
Possibly.
Maybe? I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's a mystery. The trolley lady. Does she exist?
Who knows? But she is a full person in that train.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, goodness. So after Madame Trolley, we're going to take a slight segue into the actual meat of what we were talking about, which is a lot of the female professors. So just to quickly mention some of the smaller ones, we have Professor Vector, who is a witch who teaches arithmancy.
Yes.
Mentioned just
in passing,
casually in passing. Same with Professor Sinstra, who nervously dances with Moody.
Yes, so you get a couple just like she exists
moments of her.
There. Yeah,
she does make an appearance in the movies. She is seen at the head table. She also is in a few of the video games.
Really? Good for you.
Including the Lego games. She has her red outfit.
Yes, she is.
But but so like get it, girl. And then
she's the astronomy teacher, correct?
She's one of the
astronomy teachers. Yes.
So mentioned as well. And then the last one, who was like probably one of the shortest, is the Muggle studies, because you hear about Muggle studies quite a few times throughout the books, but you never know who it's taught by.
Yeah,
or that even it's a woman until book 7.
Yeah, and then just tragedy. Like you just get
she's just killed in front of her student.
Yeah, that's she's like hanging upside down
while she begs for her life.
Begs from Snape, begs from Draco, and then gets eaten by a snake. Blah.
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
At least she gets killed first. In the movie, she gets killed first before I can't remember in the books if she gets Avada Kedavra first.
No, in the
books,
snake eats her. I'm
pretty
sure in the books it's
she gets eaten by Nagini. And in the movies, she is killed first, which...
Yeah, can we... I'm glad that changed probably a little...
Because she drops to the table first.
Okay, that I don't...
Yeah, the killer drop her to the table, and then...
that's not specified in the book. It's kind of...
Yeah, no.
Kind of a fade to black gross moment. So we learn her name, Charity Burbage.
Poor thing. Glad that she wrote some things. She
did try to support the Muggles, which is why she ended up in that situation, because she wrote an article for the Daily Prophet and they did not like it, and that happened. So and then the Death Eaters take over her.
One of the Carrows does, and then the other one takes over Snape's job.
That's right.
As Dark Arts.
Dark Arts, yes.
Yikes, jinkies.
Yes.
So
what is there a different? So
it's teachers and non-teachers.
Okay, so it's Madame Pince and
you have your Madame Pince. Your Madam and Madam Hooch, she really doesn't do a whole lot. She teaches flying, and she teaches,
which but honestly, she's not it's like an adjunct.
Get it, girl.
Is that kind of like the idea?
Because she doesn't teach anything else.
Yeah, it's true.
But she's there all the time. She refs the games. It's totally unexplained why she has yellow eyes and is hawk-like.
Does she transform?
Yeah, who knows? We have no idea if.
In my head, and I guess I just completely made this up, she was like a falcon. Like in my head,
100%. That's how she's described as a falcon, with unexplained yellow eyes. Yeah, we have no idea.
100% in my head was like, she's an animagus. She transformed into a falcon.
They have They don't talk about it. Yep.
Maybe it was going to be a plot point that got written off or something.
Yeah, who knows?
It's so specific.
Or they were just like, this would be cool, and then never said it again.
Talked about it again. Yeah, like it. Yeah. Falls asleep. I do like when she falls asleep watching the Quidditch practice.
Like that.
You don't
because
like
that doesn't make any sense. No, it makes zero sense. She goes on a huge rant. She gets there, sees the firebolt, literally spends so much time talking about the firebolt that they have to. Harry has to be like, "Can I have it back?"
Yeah, that's true.
Because she's such a nerd about it. And then she falls asleep while he's debuting it. That felt
that doesn't make sense. You're right.
Super weird. It made zero sense to me. So
I think I like the idea of her like forced to go like babysit and falling asleep.
Of course.
But she
loves Quidditch.
Yeah.
Why would she fall asleep during it? That it made no sense to me, and I didn't understand. If anything, I think it would have been funnier if she got down and like started like half coaching Harry.
Yeah.
And having like would need to be like, I've got it.
Well,
I've got it. Like because she's so excited about
Well, she talks about brooms like classic cars.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bummer when like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that doesn't.
And the only
You're
other like moment she has, which I did write as like this is the only non-Quidditch related moment that she is mentioned in.
Yeah.
Is when she sinks weak-kneed into a chair upon hearing that a student has been taken into the Chamber of Secrets. And she is the one to ask which student. And that's it. Everything else is Quidditch related. And then we have Madam Pince.
Yeah.
Our librarian, who makes me so
I have feelings.
Mad.
Yeah.
A lot of these side characters have been so interesting and so fleshed out and so fun to dig into. And Madam Pince just seems like a very generic, stiff librarian. I don't like, why are you working at Hogwarts with a bunch of kids?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me. All of her things seemed very forced. There was only one moment that made me giggle. Everything else that she did, everything else was like her being rude, uptight, brandishing a feather duster at Harry, like standard, normal. Yeah. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Protective of the restricted section. Super concerned why they were even at the library.
Yeah.
Like that didn't.
Yeah,
land,
she's like described as menacingly breathing down the necks of those touching her precious books. It
looks like an underfed vulture. Like
I just thinking about her, and I'm like, what librarian did the author grow up with that made her mad? Because when I think of librarians, it's always very like helpful and comforting, and I guess the joke librarian is the like vulture character. But
which is so boring.
It's so boring. Yeah, like why couldn't she have been a really sweet and welcoming to especially to students who like the Ravenclaws and stuff?
Yeah, you're telling me this is the only librarian you could work at? Like why wouldn't you work at a different library and have somebody, because
there's got to be more than one person. It's a huge school.
Right. And when you think about it too, you have Dumbledore is a strong, powerful wizard, and you can see reading the books, not so much in the movies, but in the books, you can see why he chose to be a teacher instead of working for the Ministry of Magic. Yeah. Whereas Madam Pince, it makes no sense why she's there.
Yeah, you go hoard the books in the secret parts of the Ministry
literally
or something. Like
anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's libraries all over the place that you could work for.
Yeah.
And you chose one with kids. That makes zero sense to me. The only thing that made me giggle was when she calls Harry depraved once she sees the potions book, and she's like, despoiled, desecrated, befouled. Like, that did crack me up.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But everything else, I'm like, this is so standard. She was not very well written, and I just feel like
it did not make sense.
Pince seems so two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Which is so silly when you've made so many characters three-dimensional. Yeah. Like Professor Grubbly Plank, Wilhelmina Grubbly Plank, which we meet in book 4. She's very well-rounded.
She's great.
And she's not in a whole ton, but like
she takes over for Hagrid after the article by Rita about him being half giant, and she becomes like a favorite.
Yeah, she's described as an elderly witch with close cropped gray hair, short and sweet with the students and very confident, businesslike. And like you said, very popular with the students right away, as her first class is with a unicorn, which is very difficult
What
to
an entrance. Like if you're like, how am I going to make an impression on these kids? Let's bring a unicorn to class. What a move. For the first time, you actually have like an idea of a curriculum of what you should be learning about magical creatures. And the care of them, and you do spend some time in her class during the books, like with the Bowtruckles and everyone having to draw the anatomies and stuff. She has a really good scene with Umbridge when Umbridge inspects. I really love when Umbridge inspects her and asks her about Hagrid to try and poke around.
Yeah, she handles it really well because she handles it in such a way where she's rocking on her heels a bit, so you can tell she's nervous because every other scene she's very confident and like on 2 feet, which I mean you have to be when you're dealing with magical creatures. Yeah. But I love that she answers things so solidly and confidently when Umbridge is trying to manipulate her that Umbridge like has no follow-up questions. Yeah,
she doesn't know how to manipulate her. Like it's asked about Hagrid, she has a good enough answer where she can't push forward, and then she asks about Dumbledore, and without blinking an eye, she's like, Dumbledore is great. I have no problem with how he runs
so
things.
confident.
Because she wanted
can't.
a friend. She wanted the anti-Hagrid to be on her side.
And couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We do grubbly plank and Sinstra chat at breakfast.
Yes.
You know,
we get a
casual.
great image of her smoking a pipe and reading the Daily Prophet.
Yeah.
When Harry finds her in the staff room, I'm like, ooh, that's a good like character.
Yeah. She's
choice.
like doing something. And her confidence with like taking Hedwig.
Yeah.
And she's so focused on Hedwig and what's wrong with her that she doesn't really catch Minerva and Harry's silent conversation about like what that letter is.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, she does take Hedwig on her own. So which is very cool. You see like another side of the Care Magical Creatures position where I'm sure they are the go-to vets essentially.
Yeah.
And Hedwig is patched up
up
real good
Yeah.
after. So she was a very interesting addition to it. And I enjoyed that she definitely felt like she's doing everybody a favor and enjoys it, but is not wanting the job.
Yeah, she's not competing for it. And
No. She's just doing everybody a solid and enjoys it.
Yeah.
Like, I would hope that her classes are a taste of what Hagrid could be.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but she's
not
a great,
about him,
she's a great like
she's a
person to get in at the end of it.
She has a whole, you can see her as a person
with
these little bits that you described that is given to you, which is really cool. And I don't know why I liked that moment so much when she takes Hedwig, because I don't know if it's because previously I had never thought of that before, that these creatures would get injured.
Yeah. Or how worried she was so quickly about like, okay, and goes into like full, I'm going to fix this mode.
I really appreciated that. And I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of going into these teachers. It really helped me see how much they had to do as teachers, you know, because it wasn't just the class.
Yeah.
It's super interesting.
Yeah. So for our next two magical occupants, these aren't teachers, but they are in Hogwarts and you see them in Hogwarts. You get the first one we get introduced to is a house elf. We get a female house elf that has a bigger arc in the books named Winky. And she comes in book 4 and you get to meet her at the World Cup with Barty. And she gets tragically fired after getting flamed and framed.
That whole moment, I do want to unpack that for a second because it's so interesting how when you see her, you see her sitting by herself and they're just waiting. And then like, Crouch never shows up. And
I hate that.
Like they're upset about it and whatever. You think, he just doesn't take care of her. Yeah. And then she's found with the wand and okay, she's given clothes. Goodbye. Yeah. But when you actually meet her and talk with her later and you see her when she's pulled up by Dumbledore, that's when you get the full backstory. And that's where things get crazy. Yeah. So she was never alone at the World Cup. Nope. She was with Junior the whole time. And something that on a positive note, which there are not many, a positive note about Winky is that we've already met Dobby. We already see how that family treats them. Later we see Creature and see how he's treated. Her, she has sway in the house. And she's treated very well compared to others. Her whole family line has been taking care of the Crouches for forever. Crouch Senior listens to her. Winky's the reason that Junior's there at the Quidditch match, which is so interesting to me that like, okay, so there's a moment of like, she is humanized and they do take care of her. And you see that in Crouch's gift to her is not just something to get rid of her. Like he gives her this whole cute full outfit complete with the hat.
He tries to quote unquote take care of her, but does what he should do after that happened according to like the ministry pressure.
Right. But he handles it very businesslike, but he does like kind of take care of her. So there is that bit where like she has sway. She talks about the wife and he listens to her and she cares, so truly cares about them because she does want Junior. It's not like Junior was like, take me there. Yeah. She was like, no, he should go and get out of the house. That this is a great opportunity for him to go there and have nobody know he's there. Yeah. I mean, she disobeys
That's
Senior.
Impressive.
She disobeys Senior. Yeah. To help Junior, what she thinks is helping Junior. Yeah. To get away from the Death Eaters because she knows his background. Yeah. That's impressive. She does seem to be able to say more too. Yeah. Even when she is under the Crouches. Yeah. So it just seems like she has a better home life there
than what we've seen. Other than like the Hogwarts elves that seem very happy to be working.
To serve.
Yeah.
Do their job, which is, problematic in and of itself. But
yes. The whole system is very problematic.
She at least seemed to be treated well, which I do appreciate, but still is rough because then it turns hard left, hard bleh, with her.
Yeah, I was not upset when Winky was cut, but she was a fascinating story to follow in the books.
I was tragic. I was upset about how she behaved after, and it wasn't her, it was the author. I do not like this. Oh, they want to be slaves, and when she's offended that Hermione would even ask if she would be paid, she's like, I'm disgraced, but not that bad. Not low enough to ask for payment. It's just
you can't humanize Winky and then do that. Like you can't
it's disgusting. Yeah. Her just drinking and not take Dobby does so much for her. She doesn't understand.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And that's the last we see of her. The last we see of her, the last we hear of her, because we don't even get to see her when this happens.
Yeah.
We hear about Dobby taking her to the room of requirement when she's so drunk that the rest of the house elves will not allow her to be in the kitchens with them.
Yeah, which why? Like, why is that a subplot?
Because that's another stupid, dumb thing. They needed the room of requirement, and then you have another dumb slavery thing that she's saying, oh, well, they like to be slaves so much that they don't like it when this one is being so disrespectful to their current master. Like, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. There was such a moment to humanize her and
to maybe help the issue that you've created for yourself with this entire system.
No, made it
instead made it worse.
Made it trash. So that just makes me sorry, I'm not even making sentences.
You're so angry. You're so angry.
Like the thing with the house elves just makes me so angry because it's not it.
We'll get it.
It's not even like it didn't age. It wasn't super appropriate at the time. And there are things you can do. I get it. It's a fantastical world, and you can make things fantastical and make different creatures, different things,
jobs
and have different hierarchies and different stuff because it is a fantasy world. But it's just her specifically is what made it weird.
Yeah. Like
and
hers
what
Hermione
made it so bad.
The Hermione subplot started
Hermione
which we will get
made
to.
It so bad.
Yeah. Like it's what the attempt at what felt like attempted activism that went super bad.
Yeah.
But that's a whole thing to unpack in our Hermione finale.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
But Winky was a horrible addition to that problematic part of the world.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough.
And another... No, I can't. I just have feelings.
Yeah. It's just I'm sure everybody does. It's just anger.
Yeah.
And now more anger.
More anger.
Which we meet Helena Ravenclaw, which is the ghost of the house ghost of Ravenclaw. We actually do not know she is Helena Ravenclaw until the very last book, and we do not meet her until the very last book. We hear that she is the Grey Lady. We hear about her being the ghost
in the Raven Tower,
Raven Tower of Ravenclaw.
The Tower of
no, you're good. I mean that too.
The Raven Tower,
Yeah. We know about that, but it's not really revealed who she is. And you don't meet her until the final book and final movie. And this has had the fandom enraged since its inception.
Yeah, it's not that it aged badly. It's that from the beginning it was bad.
She is the daughter of Rowena Ravenclaw.
Yes. So she took it from her
Rowena
mother.
Ravenclaw is a well-renowned, intelligent. Obviously, how do you follow that up? And she was very jealous.
Yes, and that's why she ends up taking the diadem from her mother to try and be cleverer than her, and to, I feel like there's a lot of trying to prove yourself when your mom's this and crazy, incredible woman runs away with it
to Albania, because of course everyone just goes to Albania when they
casually
need to get away. Voldemort, everybody just let's
well, we learned that Voldemort went there. Voldemort went there
to find it as
well. But it's such a random thing.
Yeah,
and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but her mother didn't tell people that she stole it because she was embarrassed.
Yes, she didn't tell anyone. She wanted to keep up that rapport.
Mm-hmm.
She then got terminally ill. Her last wishes were to see her daughter.
Yeah.
And this is where things get rough.
Yeah.
This is where things get rough because, so she sends, who we find out later as the Bloody Baron, to
we've met from like book 1.
Her daughter.
Yeah.
We've met book 1. He's terrifying.
Yeah.
He has blood all down his front. Terrifying. We don't know how he died. We don't know who he's killed. We don't know anything. We just know he's terrifying. He can, up until this point, he's the Bloody Baron because he is full of silvery blood. She has a little bit down her too.
Yeah.
Down her front. But the first thing that bothers me about this is, so mother sends the Bloody Baron to go retrieve her. Did she know that he was after her and abusive to her? Potentially? Did she know? Because that's problematic.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, who are we blaming for this specific moment?
He goes to woo her again and bring her back. And when she says no, he kills her.
Yeah.
And this part is tragic. Okay. Having that as a tragic moment doesn't bother me as much as a tragic moment of he kills her and then kills himself. Like weirdness, weird Romeo and Juliet weirdness.
Yeah.
The thing that bothers me the most is that she is left to live the rest of her ghostly eras with her abuser and murderer.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I hate that.
Why?
And if her mom had to know that he probably was a good like tracker or something, whether or not she knew he was abusive, because he's described as an ex-lover. So this is someone who tried to court Helena at some point and it didn't work out. And he probably was now stalker-ish. So he like stalks her there and as soon as gets rejected, murders her and is violent. Like he's known as a violent human being. I feel like that's known. So for Rowena to either be desperate enough to use him because maybe other attempts have not worked, or
she doesn't know because she's so estranged from her daughter.
Or doesn't know.
We don't know.
We don't get that backstory, but she sends this abusive, violent, like crazed stalker of her daughter to get her, and she ends up dying because she says no. And that bothers me, that her death is like that. Like that didn't have to happen. Like
no. And why is she still there? Why is she still living in the castle?
Yeah.
With her mother, who she did not like.
Yeah.
With her abuser. Why did she choose to live as a ghost? Because it's arguable that he chose to live as a ghost to be with her.
Yeah.
So it's just, I hate that.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if it was a picture or, you know, like a portrait on the wall or anything. Like,
but the Bloody Baron wasn't involved.
Why is she forced?
Yeah.
Why was she forced to live with him as a ghost? That makes no sense. Yeah. Why would you be why would you want to grow old with your abuser?
Yeah. And from an author standpoint, it felt like she was just trying to do something shocking that tied a character that's been in there all along to her. Like, there's no, like, why did the Bloody Baron need to be a part of this? Why couldn't he have just existed as the Bloody Baron?
Like, why was he allowed to be back with students
after
when he had done something like that? Oh, but he killed himself in remorse. I don't care.
Excuse you?
Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
That doesn't make anything better. Yeah.
I hated everything about that.
It's a cool character because you have the daughter of one of the founders in the school. Like, that's amazing. And then it just becomes so terrible. So that's a big anger. She has a lot of backstory in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. So. She gets manipulated by Tom Riddle, and we do get why. Yeah. Because she does end up showing him or giving him the diadem so that he can curse it, which she then, you know, doesn't like.
This poor girl, like, finally gets to befriend, like, another cute boy. Gets tricked.
Which is still strange because you are very old.
True. We talked a little about this with Myrtle, where, like,
young.
did she, where
it's
did you
weird.
stop with? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just, it's, I mean, I love a dramatic story. Don't get me wrong, but living as a ghost with your abuser.
Yeah. It also is in the middle of, like, a huge epic battle, right? So we get this dramatic backstory in the middle of a time clock that we don't really, we don't really need a backstory for Elena Ravenclaw in the middle of or in the end of book 7.
Yeah.
So it was a very odd thing to be kept in.
Yeah. And it's very honestly, I think it's anti-feminist.
Yeah,
to
for sure.
Have her live with her abuser.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
She's
and Dumbledore allows it.
Forever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But anyway, okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep being mad about it.
Yes.
So let's move on to another head of house, but not a ghost.
Yes.
We have Professor Sprout.
Oh, I love her.
She is the head of House Hufflepuff.
Mm-hmm.
She is described as a dumpy little witch, which once again, I think I said this for Molly Weasley.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's like a descriptor that they use in England that we just don't use that term.
Yeah.
Which is why it sounds derogatory to us, but it may not be. It may just be a descriptor that they use often.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
She teaches herbology, and she is described in the books throughout as exclusively this like herbology teacher. And more often than not, we see her in class in herbology.
Yeah. I enjoy that she's a frequent class we visit.
And it's an important class.
Yeah.
You also see some of the stuff that makes her important outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
She is the one to care for the Whomping Willow when it gets wrecked. She also often uses, which I think is very clever of how she does the curriculum. She does it based on the needs of the school.
Yeah.
Particular Madame Pomfrey.
Yeah.
So them potting the mandrakes and like the kids are actively helping.
Yeah, they're
Basically, there are other students that are petrified, and she does that again. They talk about later, we need this plant because Madame Pomfrey needs it, or etc.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool. It makes it very hands-on and makes you, as a student, fully understand what you're doing. It's not just a plant. Like, these are also all of its real life uses,
it's a practical,
which is very cool.
Yeah, it's like a working, functional greenhouse for the school and for potions and for, like, it's really cool that she kind of supplies that with the help of the students. And her casualness with like instant death plants, like,
oh my gosh,
it's hilarious.
So often
from like
it's
book
so
2 on. It's just like, oh yeah, wear these earmuffs or you'll instantly die when they're old. That's very fascinating to me.
I do think for the most part she's really great in the movies versus the books. The one thing I don't like in the movies is that she tells them when Neville collapses to the ground, or Longbottom's been neglecting his earmuffs, leave them there.
Yeah,
no.
I don't believe that she would do that.
She would not have left Neville on the floor. Yeah. Everything else, though, I think
it's a joke.
Tracks.
Like I get writing wise what it is.
Yeah,
but character wise,
it doesn't make sense for the character.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because like in book 4, you hear that she's like telling other teachers about how good Neville is at, like she tells Moody about how good he is at herbology.
I love that. Yeah,
and you start to get a little bit of her sass, you know. It's pus, Finnegan, pus. Like, don't worry about it. Like, just
she
do
has
it.
some sass to her. Like, her egging on Lockhart with the chamber, her and McGonagall, like, teaming up against a lot of different things.
Yes.
Like, I do enjoy her
being cold to Harry right away in book 4.
Yep.
When he gets picked, because she's, like, clearly Team Cedric.
Yes, like she has a personality, and it comes out in a lot of different ways. So you don't get enough time with her in the movies because she's not plot point.
She's also not in them. She is mentioned in book 4. She's mentioned in book 6, and she is in movie 8 and in movie 2.
Yes, that's right.
The only time she is actively in them is only those 2.
Yeah.
So she is removed from a lot, which is silly to me because a lot of these moments that she's in there. She's in scenes.
Yeah, they're like,
so I don't know why they didn't.
You're learning information or you're
right. So I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know if they just don't. I mean, she is a big actress. The person that they named, she's been in lots of things. So maybe they couldn't afford to have her in the background of these moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's only in 2 movies. She's a good teacher, and it can be assumed that she's close with Neville. She brings up Neville a few times, and Neville brings up her a few times, which is cool because we don't see much of that. We don't see students and professors from opposing heads of houses being close.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
And tracks a lot because she does make a comment later when they're like, ooh, do we close the school? And she's like, no, we should keep the school open even if it's just one student.
Yes, she was very much a proponent of it needs to be open. And it's very Hufflepuff of her because that was, Helga described it at one point of being, I will take anyone. So it feels right on with her being the head of that house. I really enjoy in book 5 when she gives 20 points for Gryffindor for him handing her a watering can because she doesn't like Umbridge.
I love that all the professors like do all that little petty stuff against her. It cracks me up.
Yeah, it
cracks me up. I also appreciate in the books you see Minerva is often asked because she is the second in command and is the closest with Dumbledore. They're out of school good friends. Minerva's often asked to do things. Sprout, and a lot of the times Flitwick with her, does things without prompting.
Yes.
So one of those moments is when Minerva's asked to help Trelawney back up to her her tower, and like Sprout's the first one right there to help.
Yes.
Without asking, and Flitwick follows close behind. And those moments do happen a lot with those two professors. I do enjoy that because I don't think she gets to do this that often because she is such a niche thing. I think it's done really well in the movies and the books. I love the moment when the conversation she has with Slughorn, when Slughorn is asking for some ingredients for his potions. And you see it's like this sweet moment of her getting to nerd out about her craft with somebody who understands the craft.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why Slughorn would need to understand the craft. But it's like a really wholesome moment because you see freaking Lockhart and other people like Snape just kind of like, I just need stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, granted, we know Slughorn's the schmoozer, but still.
It was,
like,
I wrote that moment down too. It's just, you get to come across two professors getting along and talking. You don't get that often like a scene of them just being together outside of classes.
And enjoying what they do.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, and I think it is silly that, in a good way, that she's described as being the cleanest.
Yes.
Like once she goes to the funeral, it's like less of like, oh, she's in all black, but like, and not that she's dirty, she's just like physically covered in actual
soil.
dirt.
Yeah.
Like she works.
So
I thought that was a very sweet moment.
Also in book 6, you get her yelling at Hermione to not be squeamish because the plant's attacking her.
Just like get it. Just get it together. It's fine. Like Neville's already done so many. He's gotten all those pods. Like get it together. Just do it.
That's her sassiness comes out. And I was just like, I like you. And
it's never rude to the students.
No.
It's just like, come on, people. I can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I enjoy that a lot.
And okay, her shining moments, I think, though, are book 7 in the astronomy tower, where she takes any above age, like of age students, notably Neville Longbottom, running up to the astronomy tower to fling mandrakes, venomous tentaculas, anything that they can throw over the edge.
Plant. Deadly.
Like to do this. And there's two parts to this. Because on one, you have deadly plants. That's brilliant. And number 2, it's from the astronomy tower. So it's the highest and farthest away, potentially, from the actual battle. So she is doing severe damage. While keeping these students safe.
Yeah, because the mandrake, not everyone's wearing earmuffs. So she has to very specifically put them in a place where it's not going to hurt, because it's described as almost instant death when you hear an adult mandrake. So she's
and away from, because they're fighting from the ground up. The Death Eaters.
She's like plotting dropping little mines all over the.
They're lobbing them from the tower. Is what they're doing.
So she dropping them in the grounds around, setting up a perimeter.
So it's awesome. It's so cool that she is protecting those students at the same time as doing that. And her chatting with Slughorn and Flitwick at the end after with tea is just like they're rebuilding the school together, and you kind of get maybe the sense that Slughorn is staying on for a little bit longer and talking about what they've been through. And you get a really good core group. And she is part of she's the head of house, so she's part of this core group. You get the sense that Minerva can lean on her and trust her, which is really nice, because Minerva does so much, as we discussed in one of her episodes. Ooh, we do get a couple things where she has her head of house duties too, like telling, which is not fun for her. The duty that we hear that she has to do is telling Cedric's parents about Cedric, but it is a duty nonetheless.
She loses a student. Yeah, that's tragic. And Minerva has Jenny in danger, but Jenny doesn't die.
And the trio is always in trouble. And the trio is always in trouble,
but they all survive it. And Sprout's the one who actually has a student die at Hogwarts on her, which is
that's super tough. But she handles it really well, and I like her journey with Neville. I love that Neville goes back to work, take her job over. That would be a fun moment to see. I don't know if there is fan art of this, but I'll have to look it up later, because I think it'd be fun to see fan art of Sprout interviewing Neville.
I'd love it.
Now, moving on, we are going to segue for a teacher who is not from Hogwarts for just a moment. Madame Olympe Maxime.
Yeah.
That we meet in book 4.
I really like her. We only get a small glimpse of her. Like, we spend a lot of time with her in book 4, and then we get like tiny bits after. But
because she is the headmistress of Beauxbaton School in France, and she does have a lot more to her that we see a lot through Hagrid.
Yeah,
she's great. I love her rich taste.
Yes,
it's always described. She always gets her outfit beautifully described.
Yes.
Opal, satin. She's wearing like lavender and lilacs and all sorts of, like, she is not afraid to show that she likes her taste.
And I like
has
that
this
she
really
gets
sophistication about her.
And is also described as the largest woman Harry has ever met. So she gets this like very feminine outfit and look, and she has some spice to her too, but I really enjoy that they didn't make her just like a big lumbering person,
a big dumpy woman.
They didn't make her to be blunt. They made her covered in opals.
I do appreciate that, because you have Karkaroff just like being a brat like the whole freaking time, whereas she is a little more when Harry gets into the tournament, she's like, well, you can't have 2 students, like then we should have 2 students, what the heck. Like, it's more of a logical, like her also the first trial, like, she scores Harry very fairly.
Yes.
Karkaroff's like, I'm going to score him low because I don't like him. But like, she gives him an 8 out of 10, which is a pretty good score. Yeah. But she seems to be pretty fair about those things.
Yeah, she's not petty about him being in it once it's decided that he's in it.
Yes. Yeah. She understands. And you can tell that very logical. I feel like Ravenclaw vibes from her. I know she's not
I get that. Well, her whole house or her whole school sat with the Ravenclaws, so that, you know.
Yeah. And she's very organized.
Yeah.
Even how they go about putting the students' names into the slips in. Hogwarts is just whoever wants to put it in.
Yeah.
And Karkaroff students, Durmstrang just like also is very casual. Like, but Madame Maxine, it feels very much like, especially from what Fleur has said, it's like, we have planned for this. These are the students that are going. You are all submitting.
Yeah.
Here's our line that we are marching up. And one by one in line, they drop their things in.
It's very Beauxbaton.
Very organized.
Beauxbaton has a lot of like order. And there's a respect for her that I really appreciate, where they describe them standing as soon as she enters, and they do not sit until she sits. And that's it feels like a sign of respect. It doesn't feel like a dictatorship or something.
A forced Mrs. Hannigan moment.
Yeah. It feels like just like they're a little more about the order and the respect of things traditionally in that kind of hierarchy structure. So I appreciate that about her power as a headmistress and the respect that she gets as a headmistress, which I really like.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that for her in so many aspects, because we do find out later that she is half giant.
Yeah.
She had to jump through lots of hoops to get where she is.
Yeah.
So you find out that she is a very strong witch. For her to, there's a moment where Hagrid is captured and she used the conjunctious curse on 2, gets 2 full-grown giants in the eyes.
Yeah.
Immediately before anything else can happen.
Yeah.
And gets him out of there, which that is some quick draw, sharpshooter skills to do that. She's very intelligent. She is very strong. She has earned that respect to be the the headmistress of a whole school.
Yeah.
And I love that for her.
Yeah. Hagrid describes her as really being surprised that she could kind of grit it out, and fierce, and he has to hold her back from going to attack the Death Eaters when they show up with the giants, like that she has a fire in her, and I really like that for her. And we do get her mostly from Hagrid after book 4. But it's all really cool, and she seems like such a good. I like their romance. I think it's such a good fit.
It is. I think it works really well for both of them. I think Hagrid needs that respect and structure and order and put togetherness that she can bring, and I think too he helps her realize that she should not be ashamed of her past.
Yes,
because when you first find out that she is half giant, and she immediately is like, who do you think I am? I'm big boned, and runs away. Yeah. And you see this full arc of her slowly through Hagrid realizes that it's okay. Yeah. To be like that. I really love, this is such a small moment. I love that in one of the moments that she's trying to get Hagrid back and apologize, he doesn't have it. And he goes on to teach one of my favorite classes of Care of Magical Creatures, which is the Nifflers class. So she watches this wholesome, sweet class of these students all picking Nifflers and having them dig through the dirt and pulling out these sparkly things and them running around and like Ron winning, which we love for him. Yeah. And Hagrid having this giant piece of chocolate for him as a reward. And him being so sad about it, which is such a bummer because, like, Hagrid loves these little guys.
Yeah.
And you get to see really what she is missing in life.
Yeah.
Of what life could be as an out, unafraid giant who he's never shied away from being different.
Yeah.
And is fine with that and like embraces it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I love that she gets there. She gets there. You see through Hagrid that she still like let him take Grop, but you see her, she was like, no, this matters to you. So it matters to me. And like stayed there as long as she could until she was tired. And I mean, she has school to run. She can't be gone forever.
I really appreciated that they split, like that she's like, okay, you go do this, I'm going to do that. But it wasn't a breakup. It was just, okay, now we're this
and she
part
helped
is done.
him for a bit.
Yeah.
She helped him with Grop for a little bit and then was like, you know what? There's only so much I can handle.
Yeah.
And I need to go back to school.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for her to do, to accept this giant that she knows Hagrid is going to take back into the real world, you know? Like, that's a big deal. And then in those final moments of her and Hagrid where at the funeral she comes and runs off and runs right to him.
I love that. It's the last moment we get with her and it's just so like, you know they're together and that he's who comforts. There's a gentleness about him that I think balances out her fire. And it's just,
them together works really well.
Yeah.
Something I do enjoy about her, I think she's portrayed beautifully in the movies.
Yes.
Fun fact, she had a body double of an NBA player. Was her body double in scenes where they didn't have to see her face because they needed somebody tall, you know?
Yeah.
So in those scenes where they just like needed somebody and they needed her to be tall in the background, like that's who played her. However, I did like this and I'm kind of wonder why she wasn't invited in the books. In the movies, she is in the 7th movie because she is invited to Fleur's wedding.
Yeah.
But she is not at the wedding in the books.
That's weird.
Which seems very silly to me because she has such a fierce love for her students. You see her when Fleur is desperately trying to get back in the water to go after her sister. Like she's holding her back to keep her safe and to keep her within the rules. And, you know, they have that connection and everything.
Well,
so
she invited Crumb. Like if Crumb is coming, Maxime was invited.
Why didn't she invite Maxime? Yeah. So that was something an error, if you will, in the books that I enjoy that they corrected in the movies. And I think she's with Hagrid at the wedding too. I want to say
you would assume so. I assume she's in.
She's
the
only
order.
seen. It's like in the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, like I mean,
she is not in the Order. Of the
isn't,
Phoenix.
but she was part of the journey for the Giants on behalf.
She did that favor them.
Yeah. Okay. She's like order adjacent.
And her too, like much like Fleur, she did not have to be.
Yes,
she did not. She could have gone back to France and never came back. But she didn't. She chose to do what was right. And thank you.
Yeah.
Madame Maxime.
I like her. That. She's a good headmistress to have for Beauxbaton.
Yeah. Good, strong female representation, I think, in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, for our last professor of the school that we're going to talk about, we have Professor Sybil Trelawney.
Trelawney.
Now, fun fact about her is there was originally in the works a blind professor who was going to teach astrology instead, who was a true seer. And the reason that they were written out and not introduced was because they were too good of a seer that Trelawney would not be needed potentially. And a lot of things wouldn't happen. So how that would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
Then we potentially would have not had the wacky fun.
Well, yeah, if you have
wacky fun time that Trelawney
is. If you have someone who's really, really good at it, a lot of things would not have come to pass at all.
Yes.
So
interesting thought and cool representation.
Yeah.
With them having a disability like that.
Yeah.
But I do understand why.
Yeah. But you meet Trelawney in book 3.
Yes.
And you get an instant battle between the mind and the eye, the third eye.
Yes.
With Hermione.
She's described as glitters like an insect. And she is continued as described as glittering like an insect. And kind, a little loony. She keeps to herself a lot, but is very confident in her abilities. And most of the time, she is almost unbothered by others' opinions of her.
Yes.
And I think she is portrayed very, very well
Yes.
in the movies. I
Yes,
think
I
she
agree.
is that actress does a phenomenal job,
Mhm.
and I think this translates right from the page
Yeah.
very well.
Yes, I think she
But
captured
yeah.
her in a very short amount of time, because you do get like
Yes.
the incense everywhere, and you're walking into a thick
Yes.
fog of that with no light.
The costume designer for the
Yes.
glasses
Yes.
alone, A+.
Yes.
A+.
Yes. And I do like that we have a little bit of a challenge to Hermione from Sybil.
Yes.
I like that we have something she's not automatically good at, that we get personality
Mhm.
with Lavender and Pavarti, and I like their
Yes.
relationship with Sybil. And it grows, and it like they bring
And
her
she
stuff.
respects them too,
Yes.
not just her, you know. In a moment, like you said, they bring her things. We've talked about that in previous episodes.
Mhm.
You see on her side too, when Umbridge is looking over her one of the times, she chooses to go back. Instead of sitting at her seat, she goes to Pavarti and Lavender.
Yeah.
Like, she respects them as well. And
Yeah.
and I do like that
Mhm.
for her, that they have that together. She's also one of the only people in the wizarding world
Yeah.
that is given a hobby.
I like
She
that.
knits. She does her cross stitching, knitting.
Yeah.
Like she has like a hobby that is completely unrelated to schoolwork.
Yeah, she
And
does get a full
not many people do that.
Yeah, she gets a personality. She she goes downhill real quick in the series. But
not downhill in a like I hate it
no, just
sort of
like,
way.
I
Just-
actually understand her downward
Yes, I
spiral.
understand the downfall,
Which is
Yes.
fascinating. I like that she is credited, like from book 3 that she can have visions, even if you don't know the full
Yes.
story yet.
Right.
I do like that
Right.
she's not a joke, because you do see at the end of book 3 her actually have like a
Right.
prophecy.
And you do hear that she is the great-great-granddaughter of a renowned seer.
Mhm.
So I do understand that expectations to living up to her.
Yeah.
So it does make sense for some of those like forced, ridiculous
yeah, the
predictions that
grim-
she makes.
Yes.
Yeah, like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's so interesting because some of her out on a limb things are not wrong.
I do enjoy that. I really enjoy.
Mhm.
But anytime she sees death in Harry's future, I'm like, it's right. Every
right.
school year. Like,
Yeah.
it's just right.
Umbridge being in grave danger.
Yeah.
She's right.
Yeah. The bunny.
Hermione leaving,
yeah.
the bunny,
Mhm, mhm.
Neville with the cups.
Yeah.
She's right. So yeah,
it's
it's
fun.
very. Sometimes she's super wrong. She's like,
Yes.
you must have been born in midwinter, boy.
Yeah.
My birthday's in the middle of the summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awkward.
But yeah, you have those funny things with her. It's fun that you get the balance. We talked about this with McGonagall, that I'm not a huge fan of some of the hate that divination gets.
Yes, I agree.
Overall.
I agree. I just think it's silly.
Yeah.
Because there are actual
Yeah.
people. But anyway,
Yeah.
continuing with what you're
But
saying.
it is cool that you give her some of the ridiculousness, but then you do give her meaty,
Yes.
true things. So it's she
Yes.
does get justification for her teaching job and for
Right.
her predictions not being all wrong. So I like that.
Yeah.
And she's fun. She's a fun,
She is.
mystical.
She is.
Like in a tower, like that she never comes out of hardly.
And when she does, it's so funny. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just happen to have this glittery red dress just for the occasion. Like, girl, what?
Yep.
She also only attends one opening feast,
Mhm.
and that's book 6.
Yes.
This is the only start or end of term feast that she joins.
Mhm.
Makes sense. I'm sure it's they want a reminder of her.
Yeah.
And she does care about people. She does,
Yeah.
like I said, she looks after those who care about her. She does ask after Harry a few times,
Mhm.
and she does ask after Lupin when he's not there.
Yes.
At Christmas the one year.
Mhm.
So, needlework, that's what it is.
Yes,
Her needlework is her
needlework, yeah,
hobby.
yeah.
I knew it was some sort of
Mhm.
intricate thing.
She goes through a rough
I do appreciate
time
that.
with Umbridge.
And yes.
Oof, that is a
Yes.
painful, like it's well done, but it's a painful.
It's so well done and so painful. I do understand Trelawney is easy to go after.
Yeah.
Divination in an aspect is very easy to go after.
Yeah.
So I do understand why her curriculum is mocked a little bit.
Yeah.
Do appreciate though that she does for some of the students like the Weasleys,
Mhm.
her books, she keeps them at the school. She knows it's unique. She knows
Yeah.
it's a very specific thing and knows that not everyone's going to continue divination.
Yeah.
So it's cool that she does in later years have supply books for
Yeah.
the students as loaners instead of making them buy them and then never use them again.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I think that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
But other than those moments, I do understand why Umbridge goes after her.
Yeah.
And she goes hard.
So hard.
So hard to throw her out of this school.
Yeah.
And this It's different in the books and in the movies. It does push Trelawney to drinking with how much Umbridge, which up until that point, Trelawney can take a lot of crap about divination and her. She takes it from McGonagall all the time. She takes it from Hermione. She has a couple of snapping moments back at them, but for the most part, she's pretty chill about everything. So for her to be tipped to the point of alcoholism, that poor thing.
Yeah, and that's what you see why. Like, she gets on probation and she freaks out and she's a mess, and then she gets almost kicked out and doesn't have a job, but is now just staying at the school
and
for a
doesn't
while.
have a home.
Doesn't have a home.
Is the thought. And
it's
that is so tough.
And she doesn't really lift herself out of it. It just tends to spiral for the next two books.
She does have the great moment of like the FU Umbridge when it's along those same lines of Sprout giving the 20 points to Harry just because she in front of Umbridge announces loudly that Harry will live to a ripe old age, will be the Minister of Magic, and will have 12 children, and she'll be so proud of him.
Yes. I love that.
That was so like, she's like almost to tears, you know, and but then after that is where it really goes downhill. She has a really hard time understanding that when Dumbledore gives Firenze the job at the school, and then the next year she thought she would get it back. And he then splits it between the two, and she has a really hard time with that. I don't know if this is part of that living up to your legacy that we've talked in other episodes. And maybe she feels that with her great-grandmother of Cassandra. It's
understandable.
She has a hard time.
It's really hard. And I understand why Dumbledore did it. Firenze is now completely kicked out of his home. So like they're kind of both in the same boat, and they don't get along. It's at one point she like tries to tell him she's feeling some of these ominous shadows of coming.
I mean, she calls him a horse, which is super racist.
She's super awful to him.
But he's not great about her either.
They don't get along either way. Like they both when she's like tries to ask him about the ominous feeling she was having, he laughs at her or something, you know,
because that's not how they do it.
They're just very different, so they don't even get along. And she's been drinking, specifically she smells of sherry, I believe is the one.
She has the sherry bottles all the time. She has one with her when she's being kicked out of the school. And then she tries to hide them in them.
Which is tragic.
And that's heartbreaking.
I think it's in book 6 where a couple times she's flipping through. It is book 6. She's flipping through the cards and like things happen next to Harry that she doesn't quite understand because he's invisible.
Because shit's about to hit the fan.
Well, I love the lightning.
And everybody has and everyone has those moments, but her thing is how she's dealing with this is that she is constantly reading the cards and muttering under her breath all of these tragic, terrible things that are going to happen potentially. What were you going to say about the lightning and
specifically
everything?
the card that she talks about is the tower. It's where you see lightning strike the tower. And you know that the author at least looked up what some of the cards meant, because that is a very specific, quick, horrible thing is going to happen. Like unexpected, horrible thing is about to attack you. So like the card was a good choice. I really appreciated that. She ends up being right again. So that's kind of nice that even when she's going down a hill that she still has some seer in her. I feel bad for her because I don't think she has friends outside of, I think it's hard to relate to her. I don't think she minds a whole ton. But it's these moments of stress, and she's lonely in this alcoholic state where there's only so much the students can do, Pavarti and Lavender, to help her. And that is kind of sad when she meets with Harry and is kind of disappointed when he doesn't go with her. And he's like, oh, I thought we'd go together. And that's such a bummer. And that's kind of where we leave her in book 6. She's saying that Dumbledore doesn't respect her anymore, and she's so lonely and sad. And then it is very gratifying, at least for me in the end. Where in book 7, you do see her do 2 things. One, she is fiercely in the battle. Just like a tennis player launching crystal balls at these Death Eaters. She takes out Fenrir Greyback. And she does attempt to help Lavender, one of her favorite students. You know, so that's a good moment. I don't know if it was intentional that she saw Lavender under there, but I think that was a very nice moment
for her to come back and help
Yeah.
one of the students she was closest with.
Yeah, and after seeing her kind of hit rock bottom in book 6, it's nice to have a little bit of like almost a cathartic release.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
I appreciate that imagery, that we leave her in that imagery. We don't leave her hiccuping drunk and being told she can't keep visiting Dumbledore and rock bottoming. So I do appreciate that in book 7.
Yes, and she seems at least sober in that moment.
Yes.
And like you said, very cathartic getting it out.
Yeah.
One thing in this book that specifically about Trelawney that I think is an inconsistency that leaves a lot of questions is the main reason that Trelawney is a professor at this school is because she is the one who gave that prediction about Voldemort. What is very strange to me and many is why she was forgotten once they got to the school. Death Eaters took over.
Yeah.
They didn't kidnap her. They didn't do anything about her. They just let her be. And that seemed very interesting to me because wouldn't you want to, as someone who had done that, made that prediction, wouldn't you want to maybe hold her up somewhere with a guard to watch her to see if she makes more about you?
Yeah.
Or to maybe force more out of her?
Yeah.
That seemed very strange that they just, because they knew it was her.
I would say did they know? Like, did they know it was specifically her? Then
that's why they sought after her. Because Snape was the one who said that.
Yeah, that's true.
And he knew she was at the school. So that was kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just a like, we have other things to deal with right now, so we're not going to talk about it. But it just...
Yeah, it probably got pushed to the wayside. But yeah, you for sure would try to like force prophecies out of her. Like if you had someone you know had a prophecy.
Who's made prophecies about him. Yeah. All we get is that she's made prophecies.
Yeah.
So all we know canonically is that is the only prophecy about him is the 2.
Yeah.
The 2. The one about him, that one will be his destruction. And then the second one, which is also about him. Yeah. Which is the servant one cannot survive while the other lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the servant overturns.
Yeah. Everything that she sees that we know is about him. So yeah. And he's someone who puts merit in prophecy because he follows it and tries to stop it. So
thus causing the prophecy.
Thus causing the whole thing, which is a great irony for prophecies and things. But he believes in it enough. So I feel like that's like step 1 when you get into Hogwarts is to find Trelawney.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah. But we're ending on a positive note.
Oh, I love her. Yeah.
With someone who's not in the movies as much, but she is great.
Yes.
She is not a professor. She has her hands full.
Every book.
In the hospital wing.
Every book.
And that is Madame Poppy Pomfrey.
I love her.
I love that she is also somebody that she is mentioned before she is met. In book 1, which does beg the question of what was her relationship with Dumbledore as far as like how close were they. At the very beginning of book 1, he makes a comment, I haven't blushed this hard or whatever since Poppy Pomfrey complimented my earmuffs. You know,
so cute.
Like, she's very kind and sweet, and you do get that introduction. And of course, book 2 is where we really dive into her job. And she has one job, but darn does she work hard at it.
She's a great healer. Like the fact that she can handle as much as she does is an amazing healer.
Yes. And arguably by herself. There's nobody else described as being there.
Yeah. It's got to be one of the weirdest healing jobs because of the random, before you get this golden trio and everything going down.
Yeah. Just the amount of stuff she has to deal with.
Accidents and things with young wizards.
How many professors does she have to deal with that don't know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Because she often, I get that there's Lockhart and she's like super upset about like Lockhart messing up her arm. But like, there's many times where she mentions like, finally we have a professor who knows what she's talking about. Or like, oh my gosh, things like that. Like it can't have been just Lockhart that she's had to deal with.
Yeah. Someone trying to fix something.
Trying to help and doing it wrong.
Yeah. Making her job 10 times harder.
Yes. And she doesn't ask too many questions. Somebody points that out. And that's like kind of true because she gets the bare minimum. And honestly, like you said, the amount of stuff that she's had to deal with, she just needs to get it done. Yeah. She's just trying to help you, man. Yeah. And like protective of the students too. Yeah. She's very thoughtful to feelings. She protects Hermione's look and image when she is turned up into like personally cat and like
Yeah.
hides her away,
Yeah.
which is very thoughtful. She also seeks out Filch to calm him down and update him on the mandrakes.
Yes. Mrs. Norris and
Like that's she truly cares about the students, and that comes back many times.
Yeah.
She gets worried in book 2 that the students may be finished off soon.
Yeah.
So she and she's referring to the students in her ward.
Yeah.
So she protects them very fiercely, and she's worried that they're going to come back and, like I said, finish them off. But at the same time, she's very logical with them. So we do not know what house Puppy Pomfrey is in, but I would be very interested to see what one, and maybe you guys have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
Because she is very thoughtful of others, but then at the same time, she makes comments that are very logical, like there's no point to talking to a petrified person.
Yeah.
Or, very blunt about, okay, there's only so many people who can be in this room at a time. Like, give them space. You need to stay here for 2 weeks to recover.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, I'd be very interested to see what house she's in.
Yeah, I could see a lot of different. We do get a couple glimpses of different sides of her in the book, so I think it's a discussion that could be had, because something that I admire about her that I also admire about Minerva is the intense protection of students over anything else. That she constantly is telling people to leave students alone because they need to heal. Like, she says this to Dumbledore in book 3, and she doesn't disobey him. But she stands up.
She gets mad.
Yeah, she stands up.
She
to
gets
him.
angry that he.
And tells him.
And she storms away too.
Yeah. So it's like she.
When he's like, you gotta go.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, we know why, but she tries very hard to tell him to leave which is not something a lot of people can do. So
does she say something to the minister too?
Oh yeah,
about, like,
she kicks the minister out too. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, Harry, like, sir, you will find your score later. I will attend to you first.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Yeah. And she also equally is as upset about the Dementors at the school in book 4. Dragons, she says in a disgusted tone. Like, she's so furious about all this stuff that she has to deal with these, and not even just her having to deal with it. She doesn't want the students to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, that's in book 2, I wrote down, Harry goes to the hospital wing first day, and she says, "Oh, it's you, is it? I suppose you've been doing something dangerous again." Like, just constantly with these 3.
She just, like, assumes that they've done something wrong.
Yeah. It doesn't ask,
Constantly.
and you're right, and doesn't ask questions. It's like, okay, what's wrong with you? Yeah.
Get this done.
Yeah. Book 4 is last year Dementors, this year Dragons.
Yep, this year Dragon. Oh, yeah. My goodness.
Well, they haven't done the Triwizard Tournament in so long, and all of a sudden it's like, Triwizard Tournament. Great. So the most dangerous ever.
Hurting the players and the hostages. Yeah. She, like, immediately grabs them and hurdles them back after task 2 to treat them.
Yeah.
I mean, she's all over the place.
Yeah.
Dumbledore constantly calls her by her first name.
Yeah, I love his puppy.
Yeah, she does. She's once again, her not asking questions a whole lot. She's like, "Why is her dog here?"
Yeah.
And Dumbledore's like,
"It's the only one asking the logical question."
Moves on. Yep. Does ask her to take care of Winky and then take her to Dobby, and she's like a little startled by it, but like does it.
Yeah.
But I mean, she is super thoughtful of the students. She's like impressed when Minerva's not killed by the stuns.
I love how
but
mad
happily
she
sends her
is.
to Mungo's. Oh, she's furious.
So mad that they would do that to Minerva.
Do that to her. Yeah.
She said she would. She said she would resign in protest if it weren't for the students.
And she does that while aiding a student.
Yeah.
She is actively running around helping a student.
Yeah.
And says that she would resign in protest.
Yeah.
Of how they were treating everybody that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the one who patches up the students after the fight with the ministry. Yeah. They don't go to Mungo's.
Yeah.
After that, they are taken back to Hogwarts, which I think is interesting too, because arguably Mungo's is closer.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you go straight to what's presumably in the same city instead of Scotland?
Right. And she does, like, there's moments where she does know her limits. Like when she does send people to Mungo's, another student she sends to Mungo's is Katie Bell. And actually, when she is cursed, it is understood that Snape actually in this moment is more helpful than her. And not in a bad way. No. It's just expertise.
It's a dark thing. Yeah, it's a dark art curse.
In that sense. I do love, there's a couple moments where she's like so active in what she's doing and not in a bad way. She's just, like we talked about, she has a lot of stuff she's dealing with. She has a lot of kids she's dealing with. And these are just who we follow in the books.
Oh yeah. You know how many accidents have to happen every day?
Right. Right. I mean, we hear McGonagall who had to deal with like somebody transforming like their friend into a hamster. Like I'm sure she's dealing with that kind of stuff all the time.
What I like is that we learn to be a healer how hard it is. How many newts you have to be able to get, like, to be a healer. So we know she is so accomplished to even be a healer.
She is so, and she has to do so much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out a couple things that she does that really shows how strong she is and how skilled she is. One of them is she arguably has had the most dangerous job in the entire school. And that job was escorting a werewolf to the Shrieking Shack every month. We find that out not from her, but we find that out from Lupin.
Yeah.
That it was her job alone. And that was before potentially the Wolfbane
before they had the cure
was made.
Yeah.
So she, and I mean, it isn't even a cure.
Well,
it's like a
medicine.
A staving off, like, of things.
Yeah.
So she was the one to take him to the Shrieking Shack every month. Like,
when he could transform at like any moment.
At any moment.
Yeah.
Any moment. And she had to do that knowing that if he gets out, she would have to treat him and anybody else that he attacked.
Yeah. The stakes are so high for that.
Yeah. And for her to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That speaks so highly of her skill because arguably Dumbledore is the strongest wizard in that castle.
Yeah.
We don't know because we only hear it from Lupin. Either she was confident she could do it herself, Dumbledore was confident enough that she could do it herself, or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
That she did not need assistance doing that. Yeah. And that is very strong.
And that she cared enough about her student to agree to do that.
Yes.
Because that is dangerous.
Yes. That's super dangerous. And to keep that secret from others, that's so dangerous. And she's powerful. Another moment that you see that I like that's so small that I did not catch until this read around because we are psychoanalyzing, like really deeply analyzing it. So when she finds out that Dumbledore has died, her first reaction is she bursts into tears.
Yeah.
Understandable. Actively sobbing while they have the conversation of what happened.
Yeah.
And something that she does is in that moment of bursting into tears, Minerva collapses. And while she is actively crying, Poppy Pomfrey conjures a chair.
That's right.
Underneath Minerva. From the moment she starts to collapse, so she does not hit the floor, she collapses into a chair that was not there until Pomfrey does that. The reaction time of noticing, like, she is so skilled at her job that she sees that Minerva's about to collapse before she does. Yeah. And gets that chair under her before she hits the ground. What?
I love that. That
is
amazing.
Brilliant. For her to like pull one over that in that reaction speed is incredibly fast. Yeah. And I think that really attests to her abilities.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think those two moments were like really wow for me.
Yeah. She handles all the students who were attacked. She cares for Bill before Molly and then Fleur take over on that. Just
there's so much she has to deal with. And in the end, did I catch this right that she duels and defeats a Death Eater in one of the moments as she's going? Or is that from a different canon that I found?
I didn't write it. I have that she oversees the student evacuation.
She does that.
Yeah.
Oversees the evacuation and she takes care of all the injured during that reprieve. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if that happened, but I didn't write it down.
She overtakes a female Death Eater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to find out where my break. That could be another like
amongst all the.
Like I said, some of these things I know all the like just from the games and all this stuff. But she is really really cool. Yeah, I think as a character, and I love that she's well rounded. I love her fierce loyalty to the students, like you said. But it's different than Minerva.
It is. It's a care about their safety. Without necessarily being someone who gets to know them. It's more of like the students as a whole. The students as a whole is what she cares for. And whoever shows up is whoever she cares for. But she doesn't get to know them on as much of a person. Unless you're like Harry and Ron and Hermione and end up in the hospital all the time.
She's there all the time.
You know? Like you don't necessarily
right.
meet half the students.
Yeah.
It's a loyalty to Hogwarts, to the student body of Hogwarts.
She's never described as being she doesn't go to the dinners, the feasts or anything. And I can't even imagine what she had to go through to patch up the students after the Battle of Hogwarts.
Well,
I cannot even imagine what went through her head of the students that she had to just...
She was in a war zone.
Let go because they've passed.
Yeah.
The Creevy boys who snuck back in, like, you know...
The amount of students she had to...
It's just
lay to rest.
Literally put to rest.
Yeah, that she couldn't help. The amount of students that she tried and probably couldn't save because they needed mungos. Like yeah.
And she stays there. She stays on and works there for a while, and she is mentioned in later things. I'm glad we got to talk about some of these professors and unpack them a little bit, because I had forgotten how important Madame Pomfrey is, and it was fun to really dive in and look at them. Some it was not fun, but some it was fun. So I'm glad that we did this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as well.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening, and tune in next week for another deep dive into some more witches.
Ooh, see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Damsels in Dialogue. Tune in next week as we discuss some of the series' most notorious women, Rita Skeeter and Dolores Umbridge, along with the tragic Cho Chang and some of the many witches we met along the way.
If you enjoyed listening today, we'd love to have you subscribe to this podcast and share with friends.
If you really enjoyed our discussions, you can find more behind-the-scenes content, a peek at our research notes, and even entire bonus episodes on Patreon. Each month, we release a full after-hours episode where we will discuss each movie adaptation, and don't hold back.
You can reach us on social media. Links to all our platforms can be found in our About section. Until next time, this has been Damsels in Dialogue.
Have a nice day.
And fuck TERFs.
This podcast episode is sponsored by House of Wandcraft, dreamy handmade magical wands. You can find them at houseofwandcraft.com. And this is produced by Hello Out There Audio, part of Hello Out There Productions.